The book of Revelation says, "The spirit of prophecy is the testimony of Jesus Christ." This is at the very heart of FirstAmendmentRadio.com. In that spirit, we have created the Prophecy Reality News app for all of your mobile devices, streaming First Amendment Radio 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Available for your Apple, Android device, and smartphone, absolutely free. Get the Prophecy Reality News app installed today so you can listen to First Amendment Radio wherever you are. The Prophecy Reality News app. Get it now.
Hi folks, this is Barry Chamish, and I think you can hear me. So in other words, if I wing it, you'll get her back somehow? Alrighty, do your best. I'm going to it. Bye. Folks, I am heard, and Daisy is not, and that was my producer saying that she is the one not heard. Listen folks, it was important that I get Daisy. I'm about to write an article, and it's a really serious one, and she's one of the few people who understand. Look, the article is beginning this month. 2 events are happening in Rome. One, this came from the Voice of American network, but it's all over the internet. The Vatican recognized the state of Palestine. That was on January 2nd. And then less than 2 weeks later, the Pope announced his visit to the Jewish ghetto of Rome. And the Jews were so excited. They're so thrilled. The Pope is coming to see them. It has nothing to do with the fact that they have, guaranteed endless conflict, endless, by proclaiming a state that doesn't exist and then going to the Jews as a gesture of how much they like them. All right, that's what I'm about to write an article on. These are major events taking place, and Daisy, look, I may have started the ball rolling, but she went with the ball. All right. And
Can you
yes,
hear me?
yes,
Can you hear me? Can you hear me, Barry?
yes, I hear
You hear me now?
Yeah, now I hear you.
Okay. All right. Good. I'm sorry. There was I don't know. I guess I'm new at this thing, and I don't understand the technology very well. I'm sorry.
I've got
Okay.
new technology as well. They couldn't hear me for a few weeks. I did the phone. Now I'm back on Skype, and I've got my computer working with. It doesn't matter.
It's the first time I'm using Skype for this. You have to understand. I am new at this. Okay.
Yes, I understand. All right. Let's go to my introduction to you. I gave you a very, very glowing introduction.
Well, thank you.
Oh, no, I read you last night. Look, I'm preparing an article. I'm going to summarize. This month, January, the Vatican declared the recognition of the new state of Palestine. And I sent that to you. You read it, I hope.
Yeah, well, I didn't really get a chance to read that because I was busy preparing for this show tonight. I had a lot of stuff I wanted to discuss with you. All right.
No,
anyway.
That's what we're discussing. Then the Pope invited himself to the Jewish ghetto of Rome, and the Jews are all excited. They're thrilled. Yes. The Pope is coming. All right. You explain. There is a connection between more bloodshed in Israel and his visit to the ghetto, and how the Jews, as stupid as ever, are perceiving it. Go to it.
Well, as I said, I did not actually read your article, but I'm aware of his visit to the ghetto.
It's from the
Okay.
Voice of America website.
All
Uh,
right. Okay. Well, I did not read that specific article, but I'm aware of his visit, and I'm aware of the fact that he discussed the Jews of Italy, but he absolutely, totally ignored the Jews of Israel. It's like they don't exist. And I mean, we know that everything that's happening here in Israel today has its root right there. Everything, I mean, from A to Z, everything that's happening has its roots there. And there is a lot behind it I would have loved to discuss also, but
we
I'm not
are going to
sure.
discuss it. Here you are. Now, look, let's go backwards. I read your articles. Boy, do you have a lot of them, and are they going to go worldwide as best as I can do? All right.
Okay, all
What?
right.
Let's go all the way back to John Paul. What is the Holy See demanding of Jerusalem? What does he want for Jerusalem?
Jean Paul? What do you mean, Jean Paul?
All of them. It doesn't matter.
Okay, the Pope. What do they want for Jerusalem?
Yes.
Basically, I mean, when they signed the bilateral agreements with Israel, you have to understand that before that they also signed an agreement with the PLO. At the same time, at that time, they had made an agreement with the Arabs at the same time as they made an agreement with the Jews.
When was
The
that?
idea that was in 2000, right before the Oslo Accords. 6 months before the Oslo Accords, they
The
wrote
Oslo Accords were 1990,
a
end of
nine-
3. They were
1993, yes. So basically,
okay.
that's when this whole thing happened. They were doing, I mean, they were playing both games. You know, on one hand, they used the Arabs for their own purposes. That's the bottom line. They used the PLO as a tool to destroy Israel. I mean, it's very clear that that's what they wanted it for. But with the agreement they made with the Jews was as follows. You give us our properties in Israel, and that includes all the Christian sites, everything that is on the list of the Franciscans as having ever belonged to the church. Like most important among them is the Mount Zion with the tomb of King David, and this is another thing I want to discuss tonight because right now
We will. And by the way, that's also the Last Supper room, and we'll get to that.
Yes.
But
So basically, they wanted all their properties, and the deal they made in the bilateral agreement of that particular year was, you give us the properties. If you don't give us the properties, what we will do is we will take it up with the Jews of the rest of the world, and we'll take it out on them. We'll basically punish them. If you don't do what we want, we'll punish them. So
I'm going to
basically,
add
they said-
something. Hold on.
Yeah.
Folks, the Oslo Accord was signed at the end of November 1994. Less than 2 weeks later, like magic, came the agreement
93.
with the No, it was 94.
Okay.
In December of 94, less than 2 weeks afterwards, came the agreement with the Vatican. And that is a whole story of Paris being left out by Rabin and discovering what was going on and inserting the Vatican into the grand peace of George Bush. There, I summarized it.
Well, yeah, I mean, you know, America is sort of a participant in this whole scene for sure, especially Obama. I mean, I don't know about George Bush, but I know that Obama is
Bush
heavily
was
involved.
the one who forced the Oslo Accord down Israel's throat. What do you mean you don't know about Bush?
What I mean is that they are being used by the Vatican as an enforcement arm, but the idea comes out of Rome. I mean, they basically won, you know. I mean, they all work together, but the boss sits in Rome. That's where the boss sits. And you know, the CIA is directly involved with Rome. I mean, they are basically a tool of Rome. They have a lot of Nazis there. I don't have to tell you about all that. They're basically connected. I mean, you know, Rome works through the CIA, works through the State Department, works through the Jesuits, works through the church. I mean, works in many ways. But the bottom line is they work together. Okay.
There we go.
So, yeah.
Okay,
So
I squeezed it out of you. Look, the Vatican Accord of early December 94 and the Oslo Accord of late November 94 are the same agreement.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. One of them is the military arm, and the other one is the beautiful, how should I say, quote, spiritual arm. But basically, it's the same church, it's the same evil, it's the same everything. Okay, it's what we call Rome. In Jewish concept, it's called Edom. It's called Esav, and it's the enemy of Israel, and they want to destroy Israel, and an
No
axiom
doubt
that
about that, by the way. No doubt
Esav
about that.
hates Jacob. That's an axiom, and goes back all the way back to the time of the life of the two twins, Jacob and Esav, when Jacob received the blessing from his father Isaac from God that he would have the land of Israel, he would have the spiritual blessings. Esav did not deserve it because Esav was a murderer, a criminal, a thief, an idolater. And to this day, it's the same thing. And the criminal, the murderer, the idolater, the descendant, physical and spiritual descendant, is Rome. And it still
And
hates
who
Jacob, which is
there?
Israel. Jacob is Israel.
Forget Jacob right now, and who is working for Rome in Jerusalem for supposedly the Jews?
The 92-year-old
Yeah,
creep.
yeah.
The 92-year-old creep that just came out of the hospital, the disgusting creep. That's
We
who.
want him to live. We don't want him to die. We
I
want
don't know. It's up to God, whatever he wants to do with him, okay?
God, if he was fair, would put him up on trial and make sure his dying days are in some prison.
We sure hope so, but you know what? We Jews believe in the world after this world also, and believe me, what he has waiting for him, you would not want for yourself. Let's put it this way.
That
Okay.
doesn't do it for me. It does not do it for me.
All right. I
want
mean,
him
also,
to
we'd like to see
face
him punished in this world.
justice.
I agree.
Yes.
Yes, you're right. I would like to see him punished for sure.
The Vatican Accord was officially signed by Yossi Beilin, but it was Paris. Left out of the Oslo Accord, got even with the Vatican Accord. There's a whole history no one's telling, and this month, Palestine became a Vatican state, and the Pope went to the ghetto, and the Jews just welcomed him. Oh, great, we got
Yeah, because you see, you understand what he's doing. He's playing a double game. He's basically pitting the Jews of Chutz La'aretz, the Jews of outside of Israel, against the Jews of Israel. This is what he's been doing from day one. This is how sneaky they are when they crafted that agreement. They say, you don't do what we want in Israel. Not only are we going to kill you, we're going to kill the Jews outside of Israel. And so the Jews of outside of Israel have everything to lose. So they want to make nice to the Pope. And that's why you have all these rabbis that keep flocking there and kissing his behind. Excuse me for the language. Why do they do that? Because they
What's
know.
the language? Kissing?
What?
Kissing
His
is dirty.
behind. The behind is not very nice. Okay, but whatever
Okay,
they do,
got you.
they lick his tuchus. Okay, excuse me
Alright.
for saying that. But they do that. Why do they do that? Because the survival of the Jews is in the hands of the church. And they know very well that if they don't kiss his behind, next thing he knows, he's going to unleash the same murderers he's unleashing here. He will unleash
He's
there.
already unleashed them.
Yes, he has, but the thing is, right now he has all these terrorist soldiers in Europe ready to murder and massacre all the Jews of Europe. Okay, they're not going to only massacre the Jews of Europe; they're also going to go massacre the non-Jews of Europe, the Christians of Europe. They will too. But first and foremost, their enemy is the Jews, and he's holding a sword on their neck. He said, either you do as we wish. I mean, this is the message to the big rabbis. The community of Rome, they don't know what's going on. They're innocent.
What
They're naive.
community? There's no Jews left. It's amazing they got an audience. I've been there.
Whatever there is. But they don't understand the issue there.
12 of them.
The Rome is pitting Israel against the Jews of the diaspora. That's what's happening.
All right, I'm going to quote you. You did a very good article, let me tell you. I couldn't get through it. You have so much material, and very shortly we'll make sure a few people get to it. But
I wrote it a long time ago. This is nothing new.
This is one article of a very long article. Listen, you have got a book in there. A book.
Yes,
now,
I know.
Let me quote, this is your quote, redemptionis anno. In other words, John Paul II, here's his quote. I am convinced the failure to find an adequate solution to the question of Jerusalem only compromise the peaceful and just settlement of the whole Middle East. All right, now let's go into it. You wrote it a long time ago. It's a relevant quote. What the hell is an adequate solution?
Well, the adequate solution, honestly, if you're asking me what is an adequate solution for Rome, and I will tell you exactly, and this is what I wanted to discuss tonight, and the root of all that. The adequate solution is basically for Israel to disappear. That's the adequate solution, is for the Jews to be dead, to either willingly or unwillingly be killed. That's what it comes down to. That's an adequate solution. If the Jews don't want to be killed against their wish, then they should be willing to die. I mean, that's the adequate solution, especially the Jews of Israel, but including the Jews all over the world. They consider the Jew as the enemy. The Jew is the devil. The Jew is everything that's wrong with the world is the Jew, okay? And
Can I add the rat lines just to shake up your memory a bit, that the Vatican saved the Nazis, gave them new identities, sent them worldwide. Oh gosh, I'm sorry for that.
And do you know what I wanted to discuss tonight is the spiritual origins of Nazism, and show how the church has basically adopted these very same concepts, and basically what they want is they want to destroy the Jewish people. And why do they want to destroy the Jewish people? Is because they hate God. They hate the God of Israel. They hate everything that God represents. They hate the truth of our message to the world. They believe in a different truth, and I could go at great length into that and explain what the issue is. But the bottom line...
Okay, I was going to say go ahead. Maybe we need that.
Well, you have to understand one thing, that the root, I mean, it's true that the Catholic Church, there's nothing new about the Catholic Church wanting to destroy the Jewish people. They have done it for centuries and for millennia, ever since the time of Jesus, okay? They've been wanting to kill us because they consider that we have killed their Messiah. They can believe what they want, but there's a lot more to it right now. I'm just focusing on what's happening right now and why we're coming to a head. I'm not talking about the history of the church of 1900 years before that. I'm talking about the 20th century and 21st century. You have to understand that in the early 1920s, there was a movement in Europe that started with a woman in Russia called Mrs. Blavatsky. Yes. Yeah. And she had a follower in America called Bailey. I forgot her first name. So anyway, these women started to spread this new age religion, if you wish,
right,
that is whose concept has been accepted by the Catholic Church via the Illuminati. I mean, basically, this is like the secret side of the Jesuits. It's not what they present to the world. It's not like the pretty image, smiling and beautiful music. This is the horror. This is the satanic part of the Catholic Church. It's the Babylonian satanic part. And it has been revived.
Alice Bailey, by the way.
Alice Bailey, exactly. So they promoted all these ideas whereby they said that the real God of this world, God forbid, I'm adding God forbid, is Lucifer. Who is Lucifer? Lucifer is Satan. Okay? And they said that Satan is the real God of this world. And you have to understand that she wrote a book about Lucifer. And
the Vatican Accord is based on the Jews getting slaughtered in the name of the devil. Am I summarizing?
Well, you could say that what they call the devil, yes, because actually, if you read the Torah, if you read the Zohar, they absolutely say the exact same thing, that the angel of Esav, the angel of Edom, is Samael. Samael is the Satan. And you have to understand, they consider that the Satan has two aspects. It has a good side and a bad side. And according to the Zohar, there's a very interesting teaching that comes from Judaism that says that originally Lucifer was an angel of light. But when he refused the gift, the God wanted to give him the Torah, wanted to give him the books, the Bible, and he refused it. He refused it, and then he lost all his life. He became a fallen angel. He was just a being of darkness.
Now,
but
before we get lost,
yeah,
we're talking about a present-day pope who visited the Jewish ghetto of Rome.
Okay.
He did this on. Now, what you're saying is way beyond what I'm saying, but you know what? The Vatican saved Nazism. And this is something.
They're based on the same philosophy. Alice Bailey was a Nazi. Their whole concept is a Nazi. The Nazi ideology was based on all these thoughts, on all these ideas, and one of them was this one world religion. And it was very important for them to have this interfaith, this new age religion, which the Pope is promoting these days. All these interfaith meetings, it all has to do with this new age religion that is based on on Lucifer. Actually, if you want to know, the UN, the publishing house that publishes all the UN's books is called the Lucis Trust. It used to be called the Lucifer Trust. They changed the name Lucifer to Lucis. It's from the same source. They have the same beliefs, and they're one word religion. And you know that the UN is an arm of the Pope. They're all the same. It's all from the same source. And today the Pope he's a Jesuit. He follows that same belief. And their belief requires that Israel and the Jews should be destroyed because they're fighting God. That's what we're talking about. They're simply fighting God. They're fighting the Torah. They're fighting the Jewish religion. And they will also fight the Christians who base themselves on the Bible.
My kids, they're going to knock off my family. I'm fighting for them. They don't know. They really are going to walk into this all over again. Look, you're a rarity in this world, and very shortly we have to take a 3-minute break. But what you're saying may be a little too profound for everyone. Okay?
All right. Well, I'm presenting the facts as they are. If people don't get it,
we have to present it how they're fooling people and getting away with it. They're getting away with the same thing. The Jews are dumber than ever, and they're going to win.
But you have to understand that today the Christians who love the Jews, there are Christians who do love the Jews. The Christians who love the Jews are in the same predicament as the Jews. And I'm not saying it's bad.
Oh, wait, we have to take this 3 minutes. Look, this is exactly what I wanted. I'm going to be writing probably tomorrow morning, my time, of course. I'm going to talk about the latest, what is going on.
I'm about to write an article about this too, so I hope you don't take my material, because I want to write this article also. You write yours about this whole thing, about the source, the spiritual source of what's happening.
All right, you go to that. We'll be back in 3 minutes. This is very Chamish, folks.
You're listening to FirstAmendmentRadio.com worldwide. Freedom is never free. We need your support today at FirstAmendmentRadio.com.
The program you are listening to is 100% sponsored by you, the listener, on this First Amendment Rights Media channel. You will notice that there are few commercials on this radio network. There's a good reason for that. Corporate advertising dollars come with strings that limit program content. So without your help, these programs cannot continue on internet or our several affiliates. If you benefit by the educational law programs, we ask you to give. If you are admonished or nurtured by the Bible and ministry programs, we ask you to give. If some voice a cause that you are passionate about, we ask you to give. If you believe in any of these, we ask you to support them as you would a missionary on a continual basis, as if giving a tithe for missionary radio. These programs are not commercially viable and must be supported by those faithful to the cause of truth. Look for the button to sponsor your favorite programs at our listen and schedule pages on the internet. Then, when you subscribe, we will send you the last quarterly MP3 CD of that program immediately, and continue to do so with each new quarter. We will also give you unlimited archive access to all of our programs. We're asking you to give much less than a tithe, so that you may also send support directly to a particular program host, cause, and anywhere else the Spirit may lead you. Do all to the glory of our God and Creator, for His holy nation, the only kingdom that will last forever. Thank you for listening.
Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of the book, The Rapture Will Be Canceled. That's crosstheborder.org.
I know you all want answers, and believe me, so do I, and I'll do my best to get them.
Despite Nicolas Cage's promise to do his best to get left behind rapture answers for us, don't hold your breath. Not everyone believes Left Behind is true prophecy. Some may even regard as conspiratorial the mainstream re-release of the Left Behind movie with actor Nicolas Cage portraying the main character as an attempt to further reinforce in the minds of all this perception of false prophecy in order to condition the masses for the play about to begin. If you want true Bible prophecy answers, get the book, The Rapture Will Be Canceled. The author exposes the Latin rapture origin, the 7-year tribulation deception, true Bible revelation of Daniel's 70 weeks, the abomination of desolation, the restrainer, America in the Revelation, the image of the beast and the mark of the beast, and the truth about God's chosen people, and so much more about Bible prophecy. This book will shatter the Left Behind paradigm of future events. Get the book, The Rapture Will Be Canceled. Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of the book, The Rapture Will Be Canceled. That's crosstheborder.org.
Hey folks, this is Barry Chamish with a very important interview. I'm going to get it back to day-to-day life as we know it, I suppose. Look, all my books are at lulu.com, www.lulu.com. There's a search box, write my last name, Chamish, Chamish. The book, I've written much about the Vatican, but I think Save Israel. Write in Chamish, Chamish, Save Israel. That's a good starter. There's plenty more. And David Samron, thank you. www.barrychamish.com is still up and going. Daisy, tell everyone how to read your material.
Okay, you can reach me on my blog, which is called Israel Truth Time. Israel, like the country of Israel. Truth, like lies and truth. Times, like the New York Times. Israel Truth Times. No blog, no nothing. You just punch in and you'll find all kinds of articles. There's articles going back to 2007. Lots and lots of articles, lots and lots of information.
You can get there without a .com.
Yeah, you just you do Israel Truth Times and you get there. Try it.
Without enough. All right.
Yeah, you don't.
I got there. Look, I'm going back to what you wrote, and this is important. We have to start. You're saying the Pope The Vatican views Israel in an unparalleled reality, part of the patrimony of the whole world. What does that mean?
But they basically want to take it back from the Jews. That's what it comes down to. They want the Jews to disappear. They want the Jews to, during the Holocaust, when the Jews were in Poland, they say go back to Israel. Now the Jews are in Israel, go back to Poland. They basically want the Jews dead the same way that they killed 6 million, and I insist 6, between 6 and 6.5 or 7 million Jews 70 years ago. They have the exact same intention to continue right now, and especially because the Jews are back in our land of Israel, the Holy Land of Israel that was given by God to the Jewish people. Not to the church, not to I don't know who in the world, to the Jewish people in the Jewish land of Israel. And this is who we are.
Actually, the Jews who founded Israel had very little to do with the God you're talking about.
Well, that's another topic. If you want, we can go into it.
No.
But the fact is, there's a great majority of Jews in Israel today who are real Jews. They are descendants of the Jews. They believe in the Jewish tradition, even if they're not all observant. But they have faith in God. They believe that they are the descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. They believe in the God of Israel. Many, many Jews in Israel have become closer and closer to their roots. And this is something that the church absolutely cannot handle. The whole world, not just the church, the world cannot handle it. The United Nations cannot handle it.
All right, stop right there. Stop.
Yes.
Yes. I'm going to keep you on topic, and you're not easy, but I'm keeping you on topic. You're saying that through the United Nations, the Vatican has sought to defend the patrimony. I don't know what you mean by that. A special internationally guaranteed statute that reflects the Holy See's view. What are we talking about here?
I don't know what you're referring to. I'm sorry.
I'm referring to your words. Your words.
Barry, I wrote that text in 2009. That was 7 years ago. I don't remember every word I wrote. You might want to refresh my memory.
You don't remember these special internationally guaranteed statute over Jerusalem that reflects the Holy See's view? You don't know what that means?
No, of course I remember the guarantees, but that has nothing to do with the UN. It was just basically this is a part of the agreement that they wrote. I don't know unless
That's the Vatican Accord.
Yes, exactly. So?
All right. You worded it a bit differently. You have the UN and the Vatican.
I would have to review the text to see exactly which sentence you're referring to. But what I'm referring to right now is that the UN is based, and NATO are the sort of the temporary arm of the Vatican. The Vatican is a very small entity. It has how many? 800 citizens. It's a state, but it's a tiny state, and it doesn't have an army to speak of. But NATO is the Vatican's army, and the UN is the Vatican's army, and the UN does everything that the Pope wants. Actually, if you want to know, the person who is in charge of the refugee situations, like the ISIS and all these millions of Muslims who are entering Europe right now, the person who is in charge of it, his name is Peter Sutherland. Peter Sutherland used to be the financial advisor of the Vatican. I don't know if he still is. He's deeply involved in the Vatican. He's in charge of directing where all these refugees are going. He's bringing the terrorists to Europe, okay? He's in charge. He's in charge of all the flow of of refugees. He's the UN commissioner for the refugees. Does that tell you something? The UN branch.
It's answering a question I've been asking. Why is Europe so wide open to over a million?
Because the UN Commissioner for Refugees is part of the Vatican. He is one of the insiders. He is the banker of the Vatican, and he has huge amounts of businesses in Turkey. And Turkey is a front for the Vatican. Everything that's happening with ISIS and Turkey, it's basically Vatican and ISIS. It's all them. Okay, Turkey, when you say Turkey, you could say Rome. Okay?
Okay, now I'm sorry. Thank you, by the way. This is brand new to me. I've always asked, how come Turkey managed to train ISIS and let them go into Syria? I've never
Because
got a.
one
Yeah, no, go to it. Because
because one
what?
of their top people, I mean, they are who is very deeply involved in all the businesses in Turkey is this Peter Sutherland, who is in charge of the refugees. He's right now the UN commissioner for the refugees, okay? But meanwhile, he is a top businessman. He has huge businesses in Turkey, and he is an insider of the Vatican.
That's an article in itself.
I wrote plenty of articles about that. You can find them on my blog. Look up Peter Sutherland.
Israel Truth Times. She says you don't need .com.
But again, this was written a few years ago. I don't know if Peter Sutherland is still involved in the Vatican, but at the time of Benedict he was. That I can tell you. I don't know if he's still with Francis, but now they give him a big post at the UN, just like Obama wants to have a big post at the UN. It's all one. They're all the same.
Yeah, but this all the same, the Jews are walking into it again. And that's what I'm concentrating on now. Look, Francis came to Israel a couple years ago, a little less even. He walks to the wall, keeping terrorists out of Israel, and he does Ronald Reagan, tear down this wall. He does that little show. I could see it. Who could miss it, except the Jews?
Yeah, the Jews, they're a very strange group. They never see what's really happening, staring them in the face, and they just don't get it. I don't understand this. I just don't understand it. It's like, they buy everything, all the propaganda that is being spewed by all the media, they buy it all. Except for a few small group that's actually getting a little larger. But the great majority of the people, whatever they tell them on TV, they believe it. Oh, you said it must be true,
I know. I've lived with this frustration. By the way, I watched just before the show on the History Channel a documentary called Silence about 3 Americans insiders who opened their mouths about American torture, what really happened at 9/11. Boy, their lives are my lives. This is the hell I go through.
I believe you. I mean, we each have the thing that we feel that we're committed to talk about. I am not one of those 9/11 people. It's not my thing, but I understand why people would do that. It's very important also. I am much more focused on what's happening in Israel, what's happening to the Jews, and the root of it all.
Me too. But they had a job. They were inside the CIA or NSA. They saw terrible lying. And they spoke out. They spoke the truth, and their lives were made hell.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. I am sure. I have no doubt. But look, you know what? Well,
yeah.
Go ahead.
No,
go
your
ahead.
turn. Your turn. You're inspiring me now. Your turn.
Well, I think that if you know what the truth is, and if you're not hurting any of the good people by telling the truth, I think you have to just have a lot of faith and ask God to protect you, and know that you're doing God's work by telling the truth, and ask God to protect you and do what you have to do. Sometimes it takes courage.
Young. I lost friends.
I know.
And in retrospect, you know what? I'd do it again. You're right. You're absolutely right. The heck with what could have happened to me as well. Look, the last Pope to come to Jerusalem, Francis, wanted you called it the Tomb of David Yeshiva. They called it the Last Supper Room Yeshiva. It's neither. The building's not that old. But he got it.
Well, yes, they did, and I've been there many times, and believe me, it's just it's a horrendous sight. I mean, I could tell you so many stories about that. I don't want to get into it right now because if I start, I won't stop. It will be maybe for another time. But this is really the thing.
I want to add something. I'm going to write, and much of my writing of the next day or two is because of you. I want you back next week to discuss it. There, I made the invitation. Look, if you don't want to do, this Francis is being viewed as a reformer. Reform is it's never about Jerusalem, it's about sex. All right? He's going to allow divorced people to get communion. And this is a radical. Jerusalem is going down. It's going down fast.
Well, let's put it this way. On the surface, it appears that it's going down fast, and we are going through terrible trauma right now, and I could go into it in very
Why are
great
you
detail.
stopping? You're a gardener, and this is what I was going to talk to you about a month ago. You're a gardener,
Okay.
one of two stabbed. You're a little
Yes.
community. You're not.
Yes, I want to tell you something that I just reviewed an article that I wrote 3 years ago in 2012, and I will refer to that article. Gosh, how was it again? I'll have to find the title, but it was written in April of 2012, and it had to do with the fact that Israel received a huge amount of funding from Obama. And they used that funding to bring mercenaries to Israel. They had Arabs,
What?
they had Turk mercenaries. If you recall,
Where
many years ago,
where did the money go? What are you talking about?
when Ehud Barak was in charge, there was a plan that there was some kind of an agreement that was written. I have it all on the blog. It was all written down. I reread it tonight. If you give me 1 minute, I'll pull it off.
No,
You want me to-
don't.
Okay.
You'll have
Okay.
plenty
So
of time.
basically, all right.
Yes.
So basically, what happened is Obama devoted quite a sum to bringing mercenaries to Israel, and they were Arabs, and they were from all kinds of countries, and basically they were there specifically to. It was decided a special unit that was created in the police, and the only goal, the only purpose of that unit was to dismantle communities, to destroy small communities and then move on to the large ones. And now we're talking about the year 2012, so it was way after Gush Katif, okay? Now we see constantly, every single day.
1 year after ISIS, I want you to know.
Okay,
ISIS
exactly.
was founded by the Americans and Israelis in northern Jordan in 2011. They went to Syria, then to Turkey, back into Syria.
Yeah, no, but wait a minute. I wrote the article in 2012, but this happened in 2009. From 2006 to 2009. It happened a few years before. A lot of money was given. We're not even talking about weapons. We talk about manpower. A lot of Arabs, a lot of Turks, a lot of people from all kinds of countries came to Israel with the specific goal of starting a special unit of the police, whose only purpose would be to remove the Jews from Judea and Samaria. Okay. Now, every day we have another Arab committing a crime. How do we know that these Arabs who are committing the crimes have not been bought as mercenaries? There was a whole budget that was devoted to that a few years ago. How do we know that budget is not continuing? How do we know that not being hired?
May I add, now that you're reminding me of what a horrific situation, Ehud Barak, do you know where he was in the year 2001 on the 9th of September?
You had mentioned that you had written something. He was in America or something?
He was in the White House. What are you talking about?
Oh, okay.
He was in the White House. This Ehud Barak, if you really
he's a snake. He is just a horrible, evil man. He's just awful. Very, very evil person.
Yes. Oh, God.
So he started off, who knows what's going on. I mean, whenever I think of Bibi, the truth is I have a little sympathy for him, because even though he's doing all these horrible things, I always feel that he's working under threat, that somehow his family is being threatened, his children have been threatened. I mean, they killed his brother. I mean, I think he does what he does out of fear.
Who was in Entebbe on the... who was...
Yeah, who killed him? It was also...
Barak.
Exactly. He's been threatened by Ehud Barak. He's been threatened by the leftists. He's terrified for his life, if you ask me. So, I mean, I'm not saying he's a saint. I think he's done some terrible things. But the question is, what is his motivation? Why is he doing that? Is he really doing it because he's an evil, double-faced monster? Or is he doing it because he's terrified? You know what I mean?
You may be right, but I would, if I were him, just quit. What he's going to be asked to do, and which he's doing, isn't worth the price.
I know, but
Oh,
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people have been blackmailed. I don't have to tell you that. You know how many politicians have been blackmailed with all kinds of things, and they would just rather comply than have whatever it is happen to them. And I'm not saying it's necessarily the case with him, but I always have a sort of little sympathy for him. I feel sorry for him a little bit. Maybe I shouldn't, but I do.
no.
Barak, I never had the slightest, not even an inch of sympathy. He's just an evil monster.
Yes.
So, so who is to say that whatever Ehud Barak created then is not continuing today? This Perez is still alive. I mean, he's still pulling a lot of strings. He's still continuing his show. You still
The
have the
Jews
Shabbat.
made him president. There was
I
not
know,
a pea.
I know. It's ridiculous.
You're getting
It's
me all
absolute.
excited.
I know. So,
Look, I'm gonna
anyways,
go.
that's where we
Okay.
are.
Oh well, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna bring this down a little bit. Look, you had something you considered a gift from God. You were walking through the shuk, and the the Reuters TV crew were there just as you walked in, and you gave them the story of how the Shabbat is.
Yes, I did, but they never posted it. You never saw that story. I
Oh,
gave it to them. Of course, they didn't publicize it. Why would they? If it's something in favor of the Jews, why would they? They will only post something that goes against the Jews, right?
all this joy in it. You know what? I should know better. All right, let's go back. The fact of the matter is, you've got yourself a Shimon Peres who was a Vatican agent his whole life. He's been inside Israel from the beginning.
That's
And
right.
you know what? Go ahead and expand on the Perenistim Shabbat. Just do it.
On what?
Well, you wrote the Perenistim, the Paris Shabbat.
Yes. I mean,
Go
when I
to
think
it.
of
Finish
Paris
the
and
show with it. Finish the whole
yeah.
show with it. I'm just
Okay.
laying back. Go
I
to
mean,
it. Paris
the
and
Shabbat. Okay, Paris and the Shabbat. Actually, this story came up a few years ago when we had disturbed this Australian young. You remember that Australian
I remember
young
who
man?
died in a cell, and they went to the
Exactly.
parents.
He had
And
also been. Excuse me. He was also totally. He must have been. I don't know what they did to him. They killed him. The bottom line is they killed him. They claimed he committed suicide. He was another one of those desaparecidos, and that's when Shimon Peres went to the cell. When the whole thing came out, all of a sudden he went there to cover his tracks. You remember that story?
I remember.
Yeah. So he was directly involved with the Shabbat. Shimon Peres is involved with the Shabbat, but. Again, there are different branches of the Shabbat. I am not there to blame them for whatever work they're doing when they're trying to infiltrate real terrorist cells. But the Jewish section of the Shabbat, that's what we're talking about. The one that's specifically there to torture Jews, to frame Jews, to accuse them of all kinds of crimes they have not committed, to take innocent Jews, pull them out, drag them out of their home, imprison them under administrative detention for months on end, when finally, after all the story...
Frame them for assassinations, which I say I prove very well were not committed by the assassins.
That's right, exactly.
Rabin, Sharon, okay.
Yeah, I mean, if they can frame people for all kinds of things, who says they can't frame them for? Who says the Shabak didn't themselves commit this thing at Dura? I mean, it could be the Arabs, could be the Shabak. For all I know, who knows who did it?
I know
But
who gave the order to kill Rabin. It was Shimon Peres. I know who gave the order to kill Sharon. It was Shimon Peres. I've proven it beyond evidentiary doubt. And here I am in Florida, far away, and frankly, I don't think I'm going to get my way. You think you're going to get yours?
all I do is I trust in God. That's all I can say. I know that I'm doing things that are risky. I trust in God. This is all I have to say. If God wants me alive, He'll keep me alive. And if He doesn't want me alive, then I'll be gone, My time will come no matter what.
Way too fatalistic.
What I mean is, a person's time comes when a person's times come, and Hashem is in charge of a person's life and a person's death. And God willing, if He wants me alive, He'll maintain my life. I'll do what I can.
Very, very fatalistic. Look, we're facing something big time vis-a-vis the Vatican. Big time. Huge time.
I know.
The Jews are having a field day. Here comes the Pope. Let's have a party for the Pope. They're as dumb as ever, and it's so frustrating.
Yeah. Well, you know what? People are there's quite a few Jews have woken up already. The question
Not
is
enough.
how much. I know. That's what you and I are here for.
Is it?
I
ask
think
that
so.
all the time.
Look,
I'm
I don't
still
say that.
alive.
What? Yeah.
I'm still
I think
alive
it's very important to inform the world. I think many people in the world are waking up to the evils of Rome. Not just Jews. A lot of non-Jews are also realizing what an evil entity that thing is. But between that and being able to, stop their plans, we can't do it. As people can't do it. It's beyond human capacity to do that. Let's put it this way.
No, it's not. I hope
not. What I'm saying is that if we do it, it's because God is helping us. That's all I can say.
No, I have people, very, very human people, who are keeping me alive, and I'm grateful beyond belief. I wouldn't be doing this stuff
That's
without.
good. That's great. Yeah, that's great.
All right,
okay.
Last topic.
So, yeah.
What is sinat chinam? It sounds like free hatred.
Sinat chinam means hatred of another Jew simply because you hate them. Or it could also be that somebody hates. If you hate another person with there's really you just hate them. You don't like the way they look. You don't like. You just don't like them. You hate them, and there's really no reason. I mean, we're supposed to love, and I know I'm not speaking in a Jewish station. This is a non-Jewish station, but the Torah tells us. The Torah tells us a Jew has to love his fellow Jew. This is we are all brothers. We are all one family.
We certainly are. Now, I have to tell you. By the way, folks, see, there are allies out there. Daisy, I'll send it in the mail to you, Eliza Bas Menachem's book called Banished. I'll bet you don't have it.
You sent it to me once, and I have it. Thank you very much.
There are a few of us out there. A few of us.
Yes.
And boy, are they painting us. They don't know what to do. The media, I must hate Israel. All right? That is so absurd. But they get away with it. All right? And how they paint you, you might be glad they don't paint you. They ignore you.
Oh, you'd be surprised. No, they don't ignore me. They don't ignore me.
Really?
No, they don't. I can tell you that Facebook, I was very shocked to see when somebody was trying to access one of my articles on Facebook. Facebook said that site is dangerous or something.
Oh, me too. I can't get messages from Facebook. They cut me off about 2 weeks ago.
We could sue them. You know that we should sue them.
You know what? I'll talk to you about this. Look, I have another guest.
Okay.
If you want to stick around, his name is Warner. His name is Bill Warner. He has a site called Political Islam. If you want to stick around and ask him questions, stay on the line.
It's 2 a.m. I'm not sure. We'll see, okay?
You know what?
Next
week I want you back to react to what I write because of you.
Okay.
Folks, this has been Barry Chamish. Coming up in 7 minutes is Bill Walker. See you then.
Gold and silver is tremendously undervalued. Global demand vastly exceeds mine supply by more than 60% annually. There is little in the financial world more certain than a coming explosion in the prices of gold and silver. The U.S. dollar continues to lose value and respect as the world's reserve currency. Our nation faces challenges on many fronts, and a day doesn't pass without another economist bringing forth warnings of impending economic calamity. There has never been a better time than right now to acquire physical gold and silver. Discount Gold and Silver Trading was founded on the principles of truth and honesty. We believe in providing a quality product, quality service, and most importantly, competitive pricing. We provide all forms of precious metals, including American gold, silver, platinum, and rare investment and circulated coins. Silver bars, rounds, and 90% silver bags are on hand for the silver investor. Gold self-directed IRAs are available. Call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188. Toll free, that's 1-800-375. Years ahead of the dominant media, FirstAmendmentRadio.com and FirstAmendmentRadio.net.
This is American Family News. I'm Steve Jordahl. Guess who's coming to the State of the Union speech tonight? Kim Davis, the Kentucky clerk who defied the court and refused to issue same-sex marriage licenses, will be in the gallery, although no one's quite sure which lawmaker invited her. Family Research Council's Tony Perkins says Davis is a hero to pro-life Americans.
Kim stood up courageously against the power of the state and the ACLU, and she, along with religious liberty in Kentucky, prevailed.
Lawmakers can invite guests to the event. They usually choose someone who represents a value or accomplishment the legislator cherishes. The president's guest list includes Spencer Stone, the Air Force sergeant who helped thwart a terrorist attack on a Paris train, Jim Obergefell, the gay man whose lawsuit ushered in nationwide same-sex marriage, and an empty chair in honor of victims of gun violence. Iran has seized the crew of 2 U.S. Navy ships that were sailing between Kuwait and Bahrain. One of the ships apparently ran aground. Secretary of State John Kerry immediately called his Iranian counterpart, with whom he has developed a working relationship as the result of nuclear negotiations. A Pentagon spokesman says Tehran has assured the U.S. that the sailors will be promptly returned. There are tensions between the two navies as a result of recent Iranian missile tests. The Internal Revenue Service has responded to a public outcry over a proposed rule change. Charlie Butts has the story.
The IRS sought public comment over a proposal for nonprofit organizations, including churches, to gather and report Social Security numbers of donors who give more than $250. John Eidsmoe of the Foundation for Moral Law tells AFN if implemented it would often place a burden because many churches and nonprofits are staffed in part by volunteers.
The prospect of there being errors and an administrative quagmire over this, the problem for a church is some donors will give their Social Security.
The book of Revelation says, the spirit of prophecy is the testimony of Jesus Christ. This is at the very heart of FirstAmendmentRadio.com. In that spirit, we have created the Prophecy Reality News app for all of your mobile devices, streaming First Amendment Radio 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Available for your Apple, Android device, and smartphone, absolutely free. Get the Prophecy Reality News app installed today so you can listen to First Amendment Radio wherever you are. The Prophecy Reality News app. Get it now. Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of the book, The Rapture Will Be Canceled. That's crosstheborder.org.
I know you all want answers, and believe me, so do I, and I'll do my best to get them.
Despite Nicolas Cage's promise to do his best to get left behind rapture answers for us, don't hold your breath. Not everyone believes Left Behind is true prophecy. Some may even regard as conspiratorial the mainstream re-release of the Left Behind movie with actor Nicolas Cage portraying the main character as an attempt to further reinforce in the minds of all this perception of false prophecy in order to condition the masses for the play about to begin. If you want true Bible prophecy answers, get the book, The Rapture Will Be Canceled. The author exposes the Latin rapture origin, the 7-year tribulation deception, true Bible revelation of Daniel's 70 weeks, the abomination of desolation, the restrainer, America in the Revelation, the image of the beast and the mark of the beast, and the truth about God's chosen people, and so much more about Bible prophecy. This book will shatter the left-behind paradigm of future events. Get the book, The Rapture Will Be Canceled. Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of the book, The Rapture Will Be Canceled. That's crosstheborder.org.